and welcome or welcome back. If you're one of my Final Fantasy 14 people, long time no see. I actually haven't been doing a lot of Final Fantasy 14 related content lately, which is very, very sad. But I do, I guess, owe you a few explanations when it comes to that. Apart from just being busy with moving. As you can see, I'm in my new environment, but if you've seen any of my like past other MMORPG variety content, whatever, you may have noticed that. But yeah, I've been busy, and I'll just be honest, I haven't been feeling as motivated when it comes to 14 as I thought I would in the point 0.3 patch, like the 6.3. I knew that the patch wasn't gonna be, as big as I don't know the other like point 0.3 patches, and I guess the big ending is something that we kind of expect in. I want to say in 6.5 or whatever. There has been new content, but there have been not many things that have like been, I guess, driving me to play the game personally. And I took a little bit of a break, and I was playing mostly Star Wars, The Old Republic, and I've been having a blast. It's a really good game, and for everyone who's been recommending this to me from the community, thank you. I should have listened to you before. It's a really good game, really amazing. I haven't even finished my first class story yet, but it's awesome. Sorry about this little bit of an intro. We were gonna watch this video because I actually was kind of, I guess, staying away from all the news for a little bit until I felt this urge to just kind of come back to the game and experience all of this new and old content for myself again. And I think that was healthy for me because now I actually, daydream about playing Final Fantasy 14. I'm still subscribed to it, but I just haven't been playing a lot. This interview that Mr. Happy is talking about, I actually haven't gotten to see it for myself. So, like I said, I stayed away from the news outlets for a little bit, and I just kind of want to just dive into 6.4 whenever it's available, and just kind of re-experience the game in a slightly different way. We've also started recruiting for our community. You can find our Discord link here in the video if you are on Light or Lich or Light in general. We have plenty of people who always look for others to do content with, so you're very welcome there. And if you happen to be new on the channel, make sure to subscribe. This is where I do all of my Final Fantasy 14 and lately other MMORPG content as well. So you're very welcome to stick around. And yeah, let's just watch the video. This video is, by the way, on the Manderville weapons, which honestly I expected a lot more of. As content, I didn't expect them to just kind of have the guts to just go and give us a simple task in form of just collecting enough tomes to get a new relic. I was one of the people who was kind of very disappointed about that. And the best part of the whole Manderville weapon obviously is the quest line, but once the quest line is over, there's just not much to look forward to. And I have to admit, I've been harboring a little bit of resentment, I guess, because of that, because this was my first relic that I wanted to experience in the current content when I was in Shadowbringers, when this relic was coming out and everything. I was still going through the MSQ, and I was really looking forward to this journey, and it just didn't turn out to be what I thought relic weapon grinds would be, and I'm not having as much fun as I thought I would. But this is the reason why I want to watch the video and see what it is that they have planned for the next content. Hopefully the volume is okay also.
Hey, I want to talk about another criticism on Endwalker's content decisions. I know a lot of you who follow content creators, you're sick of it, but like we gotta talk about things when we have thoughts on them, right? Anyway, recently there was a slew of 6.4 interviews released by Japanese media sites. For the most part, they talk about things like the severity of the story, the direction things are going, kind of just like little teases towards things, and maybe say, hey, we're going to talk about this thing in the next live letter. There's nothing really major, which is why I didn't make a standalone video, but there's one statement that many longtime players are kind of unsure about with the remaining time that we have with Endwalker. So on screen we have this statement, an unofficial translation from
what is this? There will be no major changes for relic weapon progression at 6.45. Oh, in the previous two stages of Manderville weapon, both elegant tomestones were used to exchange required items, but will patch 6.45 be the same or will it be a new process? I don't want to say this is what I'm going to collect before the implementation. The intention is that you can also strengthen while playing the content, so please rest assured that there will be no major changes. I don't fully, I'm gonna be honest, I don't fully understand like this whole part here and what they were trying to say. But no major changes, does that mean that we're stuck with tombstones? Oh god.
From the Dengeki interview in particular. This means that Square didn't necessarily say this, sanction this. It could be a slightly off mistranslation. There's probably other translations out there. I'm covering my bases here, okay? In it, the interviewer inquires about the future steps of the Manderville weapon, looking to see if we can just expect more tomes, and tomes. Yoshida's statement leans on vague, but there's a pretty clear interpretation. I don't want to say this is what I'm going to collect before implementation. The intention is that you can also strengthen while playing the content, so please rest assured that there will be no major changes. Sounds
Maybe they mean like strengthen while playing the content is like, I don't know, by collecting tombstones, you're also doing the other, like, let's say, semi current to current content that that is somehow beneficial for your character progression.
the entire purpose of this expansion's weapon is to simply be background noise while you do other things, as opposed to something players
Oh,
log in to work towards deliberately. I mean, yeah, you
oh,
can log in and work on tomes, I suppose, but it's not quite the same. You know what I mean? Now, I want to be clear. I expected this. I have been calling that it would be all tomes every step, at first jokingly before 6.35, but now I mean it. Like after we got the second step, I was like, no, they're all going to be tomes. And I'm just not,
oh
well,
god.
happy about it. The Relic in every prior expansion has had a range of involvements and difficulties across the various implementations of steps. Some are good, some are bad, and some we just kind of don't mind. While it was either accompanied by exploration zones or simply encouraged players to step back into old content, it was something you could mostly approach at a comfortable pace without being so uninvolved with the rest of the game, I suppose. And of course, these steps were nerfed over time, so players
Yeah, now I feel like now, even though the relic weapon is going to have like a certain, power to it that is still meaningful for your, character progression, gearing and whatnot, it's just not something that you can, like you said, it's not something that you can log in and exclusively work towards. You can, but it's boring to do that. So I feel like there's a lot less accent on it, but I don't understand why they're doing this, because even though they have introduced other forms of content that we could theoretically be involved in, like the new deep dungeon, or even the variant and criterion dungeons and whatnot, some of that content is not as appealing for us to for that to be a replacement to us as something that we now exclusively do as people who have finished going through MSQ, or maybe even finished leveling or whatever. I just feel like this should have been the leg to stand on and it's just not.
who were intimidated by some of the grindier aspects felt a little bit more comfortable waiting and then hopping in late, which kept all of the steps alive, especially relevant to the expansion itself. So having steps that are nothing but tomes just, it feels like the game doesn't even
Like,
want to
who
give you
wanted
the
this?
option to play it more actively. It just found the lowest common denominator between all content, at least for the current expansion, and set it there. Now, once again, I want to be clear. I actually think tomes as an option for every step is a fine idea. This allows players of all speeds to make some form of
That would have been great if they had a dungeon area, kind of like, I don't know, Eureka or Borgia or whatever, that you suddenly don't have to do if you don't want to, but you can, and you can get this special currency through either tomes or through the dungeon. And if those were to require, let's say, a similar amount of time for them to both be relevant to player as options to grind these relic weapons, that would have been amazing, but that's not what it is.
Progress at any pace that works for them. In my book, there's nothing wrong with that. If anything, it should have been standard for a lot of the steps we've had prior, because there are plenty of steps that even to this day, when going back and doing old relics, you kind of just wish you could dump your tomes into them. However, having options was always the strong suit of the previous relic steps, or
And the
at least for
game.
most of them. That's really all I'm asking for with this relic, with the Manderville weapons, is options. If I want to log in and play the game really actively and work towards a specific goal, min-max, whatever you want to do, I would prefer to have a more focused goal than, well, I guess I just need tomes. I'll do my roulettes and then speed run a dungeon. I don't, that's not really how I want to spend my time logged in. I'd rather have something more direct.
Like everything is super shaped towards that. It's like they give you one like I guess this one piece of content like relic weapons as an incentive to do, I don't know, daily roulettes or whatever, and then you're not really sure about it, but then there's an event like the Mughal treasure trove that is basically also running old dungeons. So regardless of whether you want to or not, this suddenly, becomes a very tempting content for you to be running, even though you don't necessarily have the incentive. I, who haven't specifically leveled all of my jobs just yet, I am finding it motivating, but at the same time, I've never been a fan of just spending 3 hours a day just doing all of my roulettes. It's been daunting for a while for me to do that, and just knowing that there is so much that I can miss out on by not doing this, let's say right now while we have the Mughal treasure trove, it's just kind of bothering me.
It gives me that dopamine hit a little bit better. Like if I could farm trials or light farm, heck, I hate to say this, even fate grind, just anything at all, I would personally feel encouraged to log into the game, even if it's just for another hour or two on any given day, and work on these things piecemeal. Throw a party together with the people I usually play with, socialize a little bit, have a bit of fun, instead of just kind of knocking out a few basic things and then logging off. And honestly, once you've got me on Final Fantasy XIV for a couple of hours with a few different goals in mind, I'm very likely to try out some other things like, oh, you know what, maybe I should do my roulettes. I'm logged in, I'm working on this, and I still need the tomes for this other portion, or I can save the tomes and use them on the.
Exactly. It shouldn't be the reason you log in. It should be something that you're spending your time on in between content. And when it becomes one of the strongest incentives for you to log in, there's just, I don't know, I guess a little bit less charm to the game. I feel like the game has become more homeworky. Can I say that? Like more grindy. It reminds me a little bit more on World of Warcraft, and that's kind of what's been stopping me from playing it as actively as I would have wanted to.
this step, or I could even just speed up this step, just get that one more item and just shake the options, 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 options. I just don't see the harm in this, and I don't see why this wasn't a consideration. So that's really all I'm saying. Again, just options. And you know what? The big thing is if I could do that, if I could work deliberately on the materials I need for the relic or the Manderville weapon, and then also accrue tomes, I could actually work on multiple steps for multiple weapons at the same time. I did intend on completing every Manderville weapon across the expansion, but I feel much less motivated to do that now because I need tomes.
I wanted to do the same thing, and I wanted to be one of those, content creators who, as soon as the like all of the steps for all of the jobs are out, for me to just, grind that last step and, make a cool video with like, all of my swords, all of my weapons and everything. It's like it was the type of content that I wanted to be doing here on the channel, but I realized that I'm just like not cut out for it. I guess I just don't have the patience to just sit and grind this, hoping that the next steps will keep me as engaged.
I need tomes for all 4 steps of every relic, all 19. That's 6,000 potentially. If they do 1,500 a patch, that would be 6,000 tomes per weapon. I ain't trying to do all that. I don't mind some tomes, but 6,000? You pretty much have to commit to like you could like finish an entire weapon and then work on an entire other one, or you could do like all the first step and all the second step and all the third step. It, it's just not an attractive option. I would prefer to be able to grind just as an alternative. And the even sadder thing is that it's not like this will ever change. I mean, at some point, these things will
Ever.
cost poetics instead of whatever the current uncapped tombstone is. But when I think of like the old relic quests, do I really personally want to go back and do the old ones? Actually, sometimes, yeah. There was a point where I was actually going back and doing them a little bit. But these will never be something you guess I get quote go back and do. You just like, oh, I have some tomes. I guess I'll just pick up the Manderville weapons I didn't pick up during Endwalker, and thus it kind of eliminates another one of those, like, oh, let me check this off my bucket list kind of situations. It just again, it feels so involved and unengaged with the game that it just can't be anything more than a disappointment if we end up just having to do tomes for every step. That's still an if, but I'm gonna expect it. And that's kind of been the vibe with Endwalker as a whole. I want to be clear, the things I have enjoyed in Endwalker, I have enjoyed them thoroughly. Even some of the more stressful stuff. DSR, like, yeah, do I give DSR some grief? Sure. Do a lot of people give Top some grief from that prog? Yeah, sure. Abyssos obviously had, like, everything's kind of had like ups and downs. I don't think there's been anything that's just been flat out done right, perfect on execution, whether it be Island Sanctuary, Variant, Criterion, Savage, even normal. Like, everything's had like some sort of hiccup. It's been kind of the expansion of disasters, I suppose, whether it be the housing problems.
Which sucks because the story is just so damn good. And I have this, well, I guess everlasting opinion that that Shadowbringers, as an expansion, but with the MSQ and everything, was so much better than Endwalker's story. When Endwalker ended, I thought Endwalker was the best, but then after some time, when I just kind of compared Endwalker and Shadowbringers, I realized that Shadowbringers was so big for me, and I was actually going through a lot of things during Shadowbringers. It was a very stressful time in my life, and that's kind of when things in my private life started going downhill a little bit, and I felt like Shadowbringers was just kind of helping me relate and even escape some of these circumstances through the story. While Endwalker was good, I think my experience might be just a little different because me and Luna did it together, and that was just so amazing. I loved what we did for the Endwalker MSQ, and I think hopefully we're going to continue to do that. So it was a different kind of experience. I don't know how I would have experienced Endwalker if I was just questing on my own, like if I was just streaming it and questing it by myself. Maybe it would have been different. This was a lot of fun because I had this interaction, but Shadowbringers was still, in my, I guess, biased opinion, still kind of a better story being told, and I thought that that was gonna be Endwalker. But so far, like with the patches, even though the patches are pretty cool, and I love the Final Fantasy IV story in them, and I put a lot of effort into just finishing Final Fantasy IV as well so that I can know the story and just kind of be involved in it. I feel like maybe that's not the same for everyone because not everyone played Final Fantasy IV and not everyone has this, just kind of excitement, I guess, for some of the characters. And I don't know why they decided to tie all the post patches of an expansion to something that is, optional content, of course, for Final Fantasy players. But it is what it is.
There's so many things. But that being said, a lot of that wouldn't probably bother me and probably wouldn't bother other people as much if it didn't just feel like the game was trying to get me off of the game instead of allowing me to feel like I could engage with the game for a longer period of time. So not only are there those things, there are also the problems with the content longevity. And on top of that, the content feels like it's deliberately designed to be less time consuming and there's longer between patches, which is why you are hearing people talking about and outright complaining about a lot of this stuff more because we love the game and we want them to create content that makes us feel like we can log in and play with other people and work towards something. But we're all missing that a lot this expansion, and there's no reason to try to sugarcoat it. A lot of people like to call me a Final Fantasy 14 fanboy, and I am at the end of the day. But that doesn't mean you can't be real about something once in a while. And in reality, I think they need to really look at this and think about how it looks and how it actually functions in the long term. Maybe they have numbers that prove that what I'm saying is actually completely irrelevant, and the majority of people love it. Great, but at the end of the day, at least I had my voice. At least I said my piece, and you can agree or disagree. So go right ahead, as a matter of fact. If you have something to say, throw it in the comment section of the video below. Be sure to be civil about it. I know that's a fruitless endeavor, but at least I could ask. And also, while you're at it, be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share, because this is the end of the video. So I'm gonna leave now. So thanks for watching, and bye.
Oh, that was awesome. No, please do make sure to subscribe to Mr. Happy if you haven't yet. And yeah, it was a very good video, and I'm glad that he, as a content creator who has been around when admittedly a lot of us took a break between the patches and haven't been streaming Final Fantasy 14. He's always, streaming some Final Fantasy game, mostly Final Fantasy 14, and that's why I think his opinion has a lot of merit with these kinds of things, and why he's the content creator that when I want to, just kind of hear an opinion about something, that's the channel that I go to, and I think you should too. But anyway, it was a good video. I do want to hear what you have to say about this. If you've been playing Final Fantasy 14 lately, if you're gonna come back for 6.4 or 6.45, to do these relics, knowing all of this. I've kind of shared my opinion throughout the video, so I don't really have like a massive big conclusion. I am a little bit disappointed, I have to admit, because I did expect, something else, something more. But I also get that they have Final Fantasy 16 that they're working on, and I'm getting myself a PlayStation next month. I'm very excited for that. And honestly, I didn't want to feel this about Final Fantasy 16, but now when I see that Final Fantasy 14 has, suffered a little bit because of this whole, Final Fantasy 16 endeavor, now apart from being excited for 16, I have this nagging thought in my head. It's like when I think about playing the game, I'm like, this better be good, It's like after everything that happened this year with 14. It's not like we had a bunch of things happening, but mostly we had things not happening than happening. But yeah, I just hope that at the end of the day and at the end of the year, both games, come out with some amazing content. Hopefully we're going to have some information about, about the next expansion as well. I would love to see that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!